What's up, guys? This is George coming at you with my second video here for the Inner Sleeve podcast at SoundMojo. And last time we talked about the cinematically connected releases from Cineploid Records from Austria. But this week I want to talk to you about something a little different, something more in line with my own heritage as a heavy music fan, and that band's Crippled Black Phoenix from the UK and their new album Banefyre out on Seasons of Mist Records. Crippled Black Phoenix has a fairly deep discography of a dozen studio albums, EPs, compilations of their work. Yeah, I still feel that they're a bit under the radar, especially considering the wealth of talent of people involved. Specifically, the band's the brainchild of a man named Justin Greaves, who some of you may know from his time playing drums with heavier, doomier bands like Electric Wizard, or the sludge group Iron Monkey. But Crippled Black Phoenix is a bit different. They described their sound early on as composing end-time ballads. And that sort of fits. There's an apocalyptic sense to the music here. There's elements of folk and rock and heavy metal for sure, but not in the traditional sense of a death metal or doom metal. There's an expansiveness to the sound, to the songwriting here. There's a focus on meditative melodies and repetition. Some psychedelia here, but what's always struck out to me over the years is their inability to be defined. The sound of Crippled Black Phoenix is impossible to nail down, but for those willing to put in the work and maybe sort of be challenged by their records, they really offer a lot of bountiful fruit for those willing to put in that work. The term post-rock could be applied here. For those of you not familiar with post-rock, it's a term generally given to describe bands like Mogwai or Explosions in the Sky, bands who write songs with long instrumental passages, usually without vocals. And there is that here, but vocals also play a big part within Crippled Black Phoenix, especially in over recent years. Their 2020 album Ellengeist actually featured a wealth of guest singers providing their talents to each song. And Banefyre as two main singers, Belinda Kordick, with whom the band has collaborated for a while now, and a newcomer, Joel Segerstedt. And both do a great job. The album closer, No Regrets, actually features vocals that go full black metal on the chorus. It ends the album in a really aggressive, striking way, for sure. While Kordick provides her own highlights with songs like I'm Okay, Just Not Alright, that really showcase a vulnerability and an emotional resonance, while at the same time sounding commanding. While Down the Rabbit Hole might even better that song with Kordick's performance is really, really haunting on that track. Lyrically, the band's unapologetically political, but it doesn't really define them. And you can go into this record or any of the records and get something out of their lyrical direction, or you can just focus on the music. It's up to you. But generally speaking, there's an anarcho-communist vibe going on here that almost reminds me of the rock in opposition movement present within the progressive rock bands of the late 70s and 80s, like Henry Cow or Curlew or Cassaber, or anything involving musicians like Fred Frith or Cress Cutler. There are all these satellite groups that have merged, featuring ex-members of Crippled Black Phoenix, and there's a lot of revolving door membership that goes into each record. But the consistency here has been just excellent with regards to the songwriting. The song The Pilgrim, for example, brings in a bit of a almost gothic vibe. It's a bit different than older songs that I've heard from their catalog. While Rose of Jericho might be the most traditional, if that fits, Crippled Black Phoenix song. While Blackout 77 is the band's first video, and is perhaps the shortest punchiest track on the record, and it delves into the band's use of samples. Now, samples have always played a big part in their work, and Blackout 77 features newsreel footage and samples from the New York City blackout that hit that city back in 1977, and it really works well in an experimental way. It's an odd choice for a first video, but it's still a really excellent track. My personal favorite might be The Scene is a False Prophet, which goes full-blown psychedelia, like a vintage early Pink Floyd, complete with like epic guitar solo. It's 12 minutes in length. It's a ripper for sure. It's difficult for me to say whether or not Banefyre is the perfect jumping off point for those new to Crippled Black Phoenix, but their discography is so consistent that you could jump in at any point and go from there and discover which direction you like the best. So I recommend Banefyre to anyone willing to give the band a shot and see if it's for them. There's a lot of great material on here because it's something that's really impacted me over the years. And I'd like to see their profile raised for sure. But that's it. Thanks again for listening to me talk about what I feel is a band that deserves a bit more attention. So thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.